one final piece of the puzzle for this teaching. One last little bit. But fun fact, did you know that Jesus is the Greek form of Joshua, which means the Lord saves? You know, I remember when I was a little kid, and, of course, Bigfoot and aliens and all that stuff. I remember as a kid thinking it'd be real cool if aliens were real. And then, in my adult life, I'm faced with having to tell my children, yeah, there might be aliens up there. But don't worry, Dad's gonna beat them up if they come down here. Dad's gonna punch that alien right in his big ol' egg head. See, he's flying away. He's scared of Dad. See? However, so far this year, that's been the least of my worries to have to explain to my children. For the longest time, my kids were terrified about me leaving to go to work. I said, Dad, I don't want you to die from the virus. And now what? They're murdering people on the streets. It's chaos. It's bad enough that they have to wear masks everywhere they go, or they're supposed to. But I've literally been thrust back into gangland overnight over something that, now keep in mind, black people, you have every right to be upset. You do. However, I feel like your protest got hijacked by other special interest groups that have no interest in preserving black lives. Their agenda, very different than your own. And I believe a lot of the money that is being collected for these groups is instead being funneled to other special interest groups. In my last teaching, I talked about how Jonah went to Nineveh on God's decree to tell them that basically God was going to destroy them for how they were behaving. And after hearing that, the people decided to fast and put on sackcloth, and God forgave them. However, still reading to try to find the complete form of wisdom, and I believe I've found the final piece to this puzzle, and I'd like to share it with you today. So if you go with me to Zechariah, which is the last book of the Old Testament, and we're going to go to chapter 7. And this one is called Justice and Mercy, Not Fasting. In the 4th year of King Darius, the word of the Lord came to Zechariah on the 4th day of the 9th month, the month of Kislev. The people of Bethel had sent Sharezer and Regem-Melech together with their men to entreat the Lord. By asking the priests of the house of the Lord Almighty and the prophets, should I mourn and fast in the 5th month as I have done for so many years? Then the word of the Lord Almighty came to me. Ask all the people of the land and the priests, when you fasted and mourned in the 5th and 7th months of the past 70 years, was it really for me that you fasted? And when you were eating and drinking, were you not just feasting for yourselves? Are these not the words the Lord proclaimed through the earlier prophets when Jerusalem and its surrounding towns were at rest and prosperous, and the Negev and the western foothills were settled? And the word of the Lord came again to Zechariah. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Administer true justice. Show mercy and compassion to one another. Do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the alien or the poor. In your hearts, do not think evil of each other. But they refused to pay attention. Stubbornly, they turned their backs and stopped up their ears. They made their hearts as hard as flint and would not listen to the law or to the words that the Lord Almighty had sent by his Spirit through the earlier prophets. So the Lord Almighty was very angry. When I called, they did not listen. So when they call, I would not listen, says the Lord Almighty. I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations where they were strangers. The land was left so desolate behind them that no one could come or go. This is how they made the pleasant land desolate. Now, for most of us here in America, it's a pretty nice place. Some areas seem to not be so nice anymore. And I believe we've lost our sense of justice, our sense of mercy, and our sense of compassion, which is a requirement for human nature to be successful. Otherwise, we will be made desolate. From my knowledge, this country's been around for over 200 years. Keep that in mind. And a bunch of 20-somethings are out there toppling statues of people whom they do not know. Why? Because they want to destroy your heritage. Now, consider this. When Columbus discovered America, there were already people here. They're the Native Americans, the Indians. Now, if you know history, you've heard of the Trail of Tears, and, Elizabeth Warren was there, suffering with them, and, yeah, right. Pocahontas wasn't there. If anything, she was the one, never mind. These Indians were different tribes, and they were at war with each other too. But they weren't used to the Pilgrims, and when the Pilgrims came from England, these people had different diseases and stuff that the Native Americans here had, their immune system wasn't prepared for it. And a lot of them got sick and died. A lot of the Pilgrims died on the way over here from diseases like scurvy and just plagues. So a lot of death happened in a relatively small amount of time. Now, in the time of slavery, which I was not around for, but I do know that there were, of course, black slaves. But did you know that black people also owned slaves? Did you know that slaves could buy their freedom? They could work towards it. I'm not saying that's right at all. I don't believe in modern day slavery. That's why I'm fighting against it. For everybody. In the Civil War, there were black and white people fighting on both sides. And in fact, to my knowledge, the Democrats did not want slavery to end. That's why they assassinated Lincoln after he signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed all the slaves. Yeah, a white guy decided that, hey, this is a terrible idea. We shouldn't do this to people. And he failed multiple times before he became president, because it wasn't a popular opinion at the time. Just like when Nikola Tesla came up with his design for free energy. Went to his financial, no, not the car maker Tesla. You probably never heard of him either. Nikola Tesla created so many groundbreaking things, and he was killed and disappeared. We could all have free energy right now, but since they can't make any money off of it, that idea went to the back burner. Dude invented Bluetooth before there was even a concept of a cell phone. They're still using his patents to this day. Look it up. World War I, black people and white people fought on the same side. World War II, same thing. We've been friends forever, guys. They're trying to convince us we're not. But we've gotten along really well. I'm not saying we have a perfect history. We don't. Who does? What country has a flawless history? But we can work towards getting better. But destroying and tearing down America is just going to ruin it for everybody, guys. We've got a good thing going here. One final bit of insight. You know, I played at churches a long time, like since I was 14 till probably a few years ago. And I was pretty good at it. And there was this one particular church that I was playing at, called Christ Life. And we were playing this Phil Wickham song called This Is Amazing Grace. And it had kids doing choreography dances and everything, and it was really, really cool. And I'm sitting there and I'm playing the lead guitar part, you know, the yeah, okay, playing that. And there's tracks going on, so I'm really paying attention so I don't mess up, hit a sour note, because everybody would know it was me. So I'm totally absorbed, looking at my guitar, 100% focused. I feel this tug at my pants. I look down and there's this little kid. He's just staring at my pedal board. This little boy. I got in-ears in. Music's loud. It's bumping. Kids are doing choreography. I can't, stop playing. So I'm just like, it probably doesn't have anything important to say. Just a little kid. I wouldn't be able to hear him anyway. Go back to playing. Okay. You got something important to say. Let's see what it is. So I pop one ear out and I get down on a knee. I'm like, what's going on, man? What is it? He won't even look at me. His eyes are fixated on my pedal board. All the flashing lights go on. Hey, what's up? Still doesn't look at me. Points at my pedal board, says, make the sound. What? Make the sound. It was a funny joke for me and my wife for the longest time. She would hug and kiss me before I'm going on stage. She'd be like, hey, make the sound. I'd laugh. Nice comedic relief right before going on stage. But now I feel a prompting and the wisdom of a little boy to make the sound. I got a surprise coming for you guys tonight. I can't tell you what it is or else it wouldn't be a surprise. But I think it's time to make the sound. Worship set list coming tonight. Stay tuned. See ya.